Hello, and welcome to episode 8 of I Was Raised in a Religious Cult Stories from the Other Side. My name is Scar, and today my partner will be joining me as usual. His name is Lost in Japan Online. Do you want to say hello?
Hello, that is me. Good
Anyway,
support.
Happy New Year. It is the new year. I wanted to apologize for my hiatus. I needed some mental health time to feel better because obviously my podcast talks about a lot of heavy topics, so I kind of just needed some time to feel better. But we back, baby. We here. Let's just kind of jump into it. I was gonna kind of mention that my timelines may not be perfect. I may have to backtrack a little bit. I've talked about this part of my life the least with anybody, so my timelines are not going to be perfect, but I'm going to do my best. And the last time we left off was when my mom took me out of school, so we're going to kind of pick up there. So the summer before I the summer after I got taken out of school, I think I mentioned last time that my neighbor friend I quit hanging out with, but I did have something I wanted to talk about a little bit. I think this was the summer after my mom took me out of school. And like I said, I didn't hang out with her anymore after this at the urgings of my mom and the religious cult and everything, but um the little time that we had between one time, me, my brother, and her, we had trails behind our house. I'm doing really bad. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to get back into this. I'm kind
You're
of
fine.
bumbly.
Just take your time. You got nothing to
Okay.
pressure. You're your own storyteller. You just take what you need.
Okay. Anyway, so in our backyard, my mom had mowed these trails in the woods behind our house. And we had a lot of woods behind our house, and these were the woods that we would play on, and like my neighbor friend, we would all go out and play in these together. We would spend hours out there. We would build forts. I remember after reading the book Bridge to Terabithia, I was like, oh my god, I have my own property to bridge to Terabithia on. Like, it was a whole thing.
Oh God.
And no, nobody died. I just meant
Yeah, that's a strange combination.
no, I meant like the magical. Never mind. Anyway, um,
Sure. Okay. I get you.
I mean, my inner child maybe died a little bit, but it's fine. I'm totally well adjusted and chillin'.
Yeah, that's why you have a podcast. It's
Yeah,
definitely what it's
yeah,
for.
I'm fine. Anyway, so one time we were out there playing, and the way that the property worked is it went up against a fence to more woods, but that was property that we didn't own, and the other property owner had put this fence in. And we went to the fence, and honestly, the woods looked really cool out there, and I was like, we should go further in. So we decided we were gonna go exploring. So we were gone for hours. We were really far out there. And I remember telling them, I'm like, guys, in a joking way, I was like, have you guys ever thought about, like, I don't know, running away? And there was like this, nobody like said, oh, we should run away, but there was this like, and maybe it was something that I was making in my own head, but I was kind of convinced that we were running away and that that was what we were gonna do, because we were all like, yeah, we've kind of thought about it before. To be fair, we were all hella abused kids, so like it made sense. But we kept getting further in, and it was starting to get dark, and I can't remember who, but one of them was like, hey, we need to go back. And I remember my heart dropped, and I was like, it like broke my heart that we didn't run away. And when we got back, I remember we heard her sister calling for her. And then we got closer to our house, and we heard my mom calling for us, and I was like, oh no. Like, we knew we messed up. And I remember when we got back, my mom just screamed at us. She was like red in the face, and she just like, I think she was just scared, honestly. So like, her way of handling it is she's like, go outside and stack the firewood. Like, that was the punishment. I don't know, we didn't really ever get in that much trouble. And I don't know, I think it actually scared my mom. I think she was like, I almost lost my kids. Uh, I'm not really sure why we didn't get more in trouble. I think that she was worried if she got us in trouble that we would actually run away. Does that make
Makes sense.
sense?
No, it
Yeah.
does make sense because especially how your mom is and stuff.
Sadly, though, I think
Um,
if we did run away and we got brought back, I don't think my parents would have changed.
oh no, not at all.
I mean, I know that as an adult, my mom. um, anyway, after that summer is when we started homeschooling. And homeschooling was a trip. Basically, my mom ordered schooling, like basically the local school forces that you have to prove that you're giving your kids curriculum, that you're not just taking them out of school. Like there is some state mandated things, and my mom ordered, there's this schooling called Penn Foster, which is whack. It is not good schooling. Anyway, she ordered that, and that's what she homeschooled us with. And my mom did not order me curriculum. She ordered my brother curriculum, and she made me skip 2 grades for it. And anything I did just didn't count. And it really frustrated me that my brother didn't even finish getting, like, he had an essay that he had to do to get his diploma, and he didn't even finish that. So I did not, I just kind of got screwed. Like, she's like, you can skip 2 grades, you can skip the 7th and 8th grade and just start high school. And I'm like, sure. And I remember my mom at first was like, oh, we're gonna have like this super special, my dog is hugging me right now, and it is the sweetest, cutest thing ever. Oh my god. He's so
He's a
cute.
sweetheart.
He is. He's like, you are talking about things that make you sad. But
Hug me.
hug me. But yeah, she like had this whole thing she wanted to do. Like she's like, she would wake us up at a certain time, and then she's like, we'll start our day with gym class. And so gym class would usually involve going on a walk and then making us do these weird exercises with her. I was mad as hell. Not about the exercise or gym stuff. It was just I was just mad because she took me out of school, and it was like, I always tried to be positive though. So I tried to be like, okay, fine, I'll get into it. I'll do it with you, which honestly, it really wasn't healthy because I had a lot of body issues at this point. So I was like, yeah, I'll do the exercise and lose weight, and like it was honestly not healthy for me. And my dog is growling for some reason. I'm so sorry, guys. He's being
He's
a
just a little
wiener.
grumpy boy.
We have a lot of changes at our house right now, so he's not handling them super well at the moment. um but yeah, it was, I tried to be positive, but I definitely still was so mad at my mom for it. I got past it pretty quick because I just had to. And a big part of our homeschooling was my mom really incorporated being Jehovah's Witnesses into this. I feel like this is where it really ramped up for my brother and I. I think it was because we didn't really have anything else to do. Like that was our life, was Jehovah's Witnesses. So we would go out in service, we would study for meetings. So it was just like this whole thing. And I remember like I started immediately struggling with the curriculum because obviously I didn't understand half of it because she forced me to skip 2 grades. And she got this weird persona, like this teacher persona, and asking her for any sort of help was absolutely infuriating because, and Japan knows this, because of this, she, hello Pepper, sorry, my dog is because of this, like if I asked her for help and then she helped me with something, she would go and tell everybody that she knew that basically, well, I taught my kid how to do this, and talk about how dumb I was and how she was smart enough to figure out how to get me to a point of understanding something. So obviously that didn't want to make me ask for help because she was going to everybody and being like, yeah, my kid was like so stupid basically. And that didn't feel good, especially because, as I talked about, I was undiagnosed autistic ADHD. So of course I was going to struggle. So
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
it wasn't great. And then she would like set certain schedules, like certain days we would have to like either like mow the lawn or clean the house and car, and like so that was part of the schedule. And honestly, it kind of reminded me of this is just a great story to explain my mom. So when we had to mow at the time, all we had was this electric push lawnmower, and we had 5 acres of land. Keep that in mind. And which not all of it was mowable grass. I do have to say that. I think at least 3 acres of it we had to mow with this stupid thing. And it had an extension cord to run it, and we had to mow with this. And I remember one time one of the wheels on it broke, like to the point that like if I pushed it, it was literally dragging up the dirt and ground under it. And I went in like really frustrated, and it was hot, and my mom was like sitting at the table. It wasn't like she was doing anything that I could see physically demanding, and it kind of pissed me off that I'm like, oh, well, we have to do this physically demanding stuff. Why don't you, you know? And I go inside and I'm like, Mom, it's not working. It's broken. And she got like really mad at me, and she's just like, you're just being lazy. You need to get your ass back out there. I always hated that my mom has always thought the worst of me. Like anything comes up, she immediately assumes that I'm doing something that I'm not supposed to, or I'm being snarky, or I'm being shitty, and I'm just, oops, language. I've been really good about not using language. I don't know what's happening here. I'm very sorry.
It's been a while, so you're just trying to get used to it. It's okay.
Yeah, her initial
Don't think that's a bad word to say as much as the other ones.
Okay. Her initial reaction to anything that I did was to immediately think I was being bad. And so I go back out there and try to keep mowing with it, and I ended up pushing myself so hard to mow with the broken lawnmower that I got a nosebleed. And so I run in and there's like blood all over me. And of course she immediately is like, oh, yeah, maybe I was wrong. You weren't being lazy. I'm sorry. Like, at least she admitted, but still, it was just like, because it was around
a little
this.
late.
Yeah, like it was around this time as when my mom really, really didn't like me. She had this, like, she just hated me. And I know that I mentioned that I had a lot of hatred towards her when she took me out of school, but it felt unrelated and different because I got past that pretty quick and tried to apply myself to the schedule that my mom had made. I've always been that kind of person that I try to just, like, be positive and try to make the most of whatever situation I'm in. And yeah, she hated me, but then her and my brother's relationship got really good. Actually, it got weird at some point. Like, they were like really close. They'd talk about everything. Other than, like, I think around this time she wasn't talking to me as much. I was usually her emotional support child, but and she wasn't really talking to my brother in that way. It was, I don't know how to explain it, but it was just a weird relationship. And like, basically she relied on him for everything. Like, he got away with everything. He could do no wrong. But she hated me. She would snap at me, like, over anything. And, like, I remember, this is super weird, but I developed breasts very young and they were really big. And she got really weird about that and, like, mad at me because I had big breasts. And I don't think that's the way to treat your child. And
not at all.
It's very inappropriate and creepy. But she was mad at me for that, and it was like just the sight of me would make her hate me. And she got like really aggressive towards me. So like over simple things. Like one time I remember I was in the shower and I can't remember the exact fight. It was something like we were out of shampoo in one of the bathrooms. So I was using the shampoo and I had forgotten to give it to her. And I think she was mad at my parents would get mad at me for what time I'd take a shower. Like, that's the kind of stuff they would get mad at me for like no reason. They'd be like, well, you shouldn't be taking a shower right now. Like, why not? Like, my dad especially. But like, I had forgotten to give her the shampoo, and she comes to the door and she's like banging on it, and she's like, "You come out here right now and give me the shampoo." And I'm like, "I'm in the shower." And she got so mad at me that she took her bare hands and like her like knuckles, and like she I don't want to say fisted the door. That's not what I'm trying to say.
She punched the door. Punched is the word you're
She
looking for.
punched. She punched the door so hard and so fast and so many times that she punched a hole through my door. And she was screaming. And like I froze. Like, I froze. I didn't know what to do. I didn't talk. Like, she knew that I was in there, but I just got so quiet and acted like I wasn't in there because I was so scared to come out. And then the punching and screaming stopped. And, like, I remember, like, peeking around the shower curtain, and there's just this hole through the door. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I thought I was gonna die. I thought my mom was gonna, like, kill me or something. Like, I was like,
that's valid.
I'm like, she's gonna kill me. She's gonna physically actually beat me to death. And you know, that I think that's what frustrated me with my mom is like she would like spanking was a huge thing with Jehovah's Witnesses, and she would like spank me and hit me as hard as she could. But like my brother, like he could do no wrong. And that was so infuriating for me because even things that I wasn't doing wrong, like I don't think you should get mad at all over your kid forgetting to give you the shampoo, right? Like that's already a weird thing to get angry over, but especially
Absolutely.
that angry. And I know that there were other things, outside things that also at this time caused my mom to be super aggressive, but I think you've seen my mom's reaction to things and they're always like unreal, like just make no sense. So it was really frustrating to see. Like, I'm gonna be honest, their relationship honestly made me really uncomfortable. Like, it was kind of weird. I can't remember what they call it, but I mean, it was not a good vibe, and it got worse because like my brother's obviously gonna take advantage of that, and so at this time they would just make fun of me all the time, like her and my brother. Like if I did anything stupid, they'd make fun of me, and I was always very gullible. And once again, I think it was definitely the undiagnosed autism where like I took everything very literally. So if I didn't think something was funny, they would make fun of me for it. And like my mom would also intentionally do things that like she knew would piss me off or like really bothered me. Specifically, like something that would irritate me is the sound of whistling, which the thing with autism is you struggle with certain sounds or too much of certain sounds, and she would do those sounds or those things that she knew would upset me. Like I couldn't understand it at the time why I would get so angry and upset, and at the time like I couldn't express negative emotions unless it was a negative emotion that my mom could benefit from. And she would intentionally do stuff like that to upset me, and I don't know. That's really sad, actually. No wonder I was so exhausted all the time as a kid. Like I had I had like a little MP3 player I would use, like, and I'd try to listen to that while we were in the car, and I'd turn it up as loud as I could, and then she would make her music louder so that I couldn't hear my own music. Instead of just being like, oh, I can listen to my music a little bit lower and let my kid listen to theirs, she was like, no. And she would never like let me play my music. It was always her like country music, and I don't know, it was a whole thing. And it was a really hard time too. Like I mentioned that, you know, my breasts had come in and they were really big, and something that really upset me is a lot of grown men are very predatory towards little young girls, and what the heck is that? But that's a conversation for another day. But that was something I ran into a lot, and I remember grown men would just make all these really heinous comments, even in front of my mother, about my breasts, and she wouldn't do anything to stop it. That's something insane. Oh yeah, that's something that's just irked me. Like, if I had a kid and they were talking about my child's breast, I'd be like, you have like 5 seconds to get out of my line of sight. Like, no, you do not make predatory comments about anyone, but especially a little child, you know. And it was just a hard time. Like I said, my mom she would just get so mad at me. Like I said, it was like the sight of me would make her so mad. Like, she would get to the point where she would like raise her hand and get ready to hit me. And because that was the only thing that stopped my mom, I think, was religion from like hitting me with her hands. Like, she would usually beat me with a belt and be like, oh, well, it's a spanking. So, and I remember this one specific time where she got really close to hitting me, and I was on the floor playing with the dog, and we were being too loud, and she was like standing over me, and I remember like looking at her like right in the eyes, and I remember thinking, hit me. You know, like, I wanted her to hit me. I wanted my mom to hit me as hard as she could. I think it's because it would have made me feel justified.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, do it. Because that feeling of knowing that your parents want to hit you, but then they don't, kind of feels really crappy. Because it's like, oh. Okay. I don't know. Weird. I don't know how to explain it. I think also just if they would have hit me, I would have had proof. And would have felt justified. I don't know if I would have ever told anybody. But
you would have known.
Yeah. And as far as my dad, he really didn't want anything to do with me. My dad also hated me. I think some of it is that he hated that I looked a lot like his mom. Like, I remember my mom showed me a photo of his mom when she was like a teenager, and we looked identical. It was really weird, and I thought it was really cool, but then I didn't get to know her, and it was just weird. We kind of talked about that whenever we went to, you know, the funeral of my dad's sister's baby. You know, it was weird. And there were other reasons that my dad hated me, and those are things that we will talk about at a later time when I'm ready. But the biggest thing was he was just always angry. Like, he would come in and, like, on the weekends, like, he would come into my brother and I, he'd come into our rooms and wake us up at like the like as the sun was rising. I'm sorry for any noises my grody little dog makes. He would come in at sunrise and just be like screaming at my brother and I, like, you know, on a Saturday morning, like, you guys are lazy, you need to get your asses up, you need to go clean the yard, or whatever it was that he wanted at the time. But it was just like not a way to... Hello, my dog just sneezed on my face. I'm very sorry. He's being a little crackhead for some reason. Once again, though, my brother at least had a way to bond with my dad, and the way that he bonded with him was through hunting, which is a big thing in the South. And I think what always frustrated me is they didn't even offer to take me hunting. Like, even though I wouldn't have liked it, I think I would have pretended to if my dad would have liked me more for liking it. But they never gave me that chance. And at this time, my parents were fighting a lot, like 4 or 5 in the morning, every morning. My room was against the living room, so my parents would go in there and they would be fighting and screaming at each other. It was always about money, because my dad would come home with barely any money. He was a carpenter, but highly sought after carpenter, at least the company that they worked for. Like, they were in magazines and stuff, like, really good carpenter. And so his job paid really well, and I'd say he worked 30 to 45 minutes away tops. But, like, he would come home with, like, hardly any money, or, like, I remember there were a couple of times he came home with no money from his paycheck, and my mom's, like, would sit down with him, and they'd be in the morning breaking down what he had spent money on, and he was like, oh, well, it's usually, like, it's because I gotta get breakfast and food, which was really weird, because we would send him to to work with lunch every day. Like, I was the one that had to pack it, so I know he had plenty of food, but, I know he spent a lot of money on beer, but there was no real, like, reason why all that money was gone, which when my mom was cleaning the house out after they got divorced, we found out that he had like a secret bank account and like a secret address. So I don't know, either a second family or just pissing it away somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah,
World may
nothing
never.
good.
Yeah, world may never know on that, but anyway, like I said, we were homeschooling and we were involved with a lot of Jehovah's Witness stuff. And like a big thing in the cult is that the man is the head of the household. But my dad wouldn't study with us. And my mom made like it a big to do. She would make a big deal out of doing it with my brother and I. Um, so she's like, oh, well, fine. If you're not going to do it, then I'll do it. And like I said, we had started at a new Kingdom Hall, which it was a lot better here. People, I think everybody was poor there, so it was like some sort of camaraderie there. Everybody was nicer. Like I said, I was really mad about being out of my school. And then at this, new Kingdom Hall, there weren't really other kids. I didn't really like most of the people at this Kingdom Hall, but I had to go along with it. And I did get less angry over time. And I tried really hard to be positive. The only other kids that were there, their family would only show up sometimes. So my brother and I had like this huge magnifying glass on us because like we're good kids and we were attending the meetings and doing what we were supposed to. And then I started dealing with this like extreme guilt around this time because when I was in school I had boyfriends and stuff, which I wasn't allowed to. And so I started having this insane guilt, which funny thing is the most I had ever done with anyone was hold hands with them. I really it's not like I had done anything crazy. Even if I had you're a kid, you're learning how your body works and how the world works, and kids are going to experiment, and that doesn't make them bad people.
Definitely not.
Like we all at some point go through that. I don't know. But it was just this insane guilt. And I'm like, God's going to hate me. I may not make it to paradise because I had a boyfriend that I had held hands with. And it was really bad. I would stay up all night, But anyway, my parents were like getting closer to some of the people there. And I still get bad dreams about this Kingdom Hall. Like, sometimes I'll still have dreams about being in it. And my dad he became a different person at the Kingdom Hall. He was this charismatic, funny, loving guy. But it was so weird. It was such a switch because on the way to the meeting in the car, he would be just angry to the point that his face was getting red, and he would be screaming at us. And then we'd get to the Kingdom Hall, immediate switch, different person. Which I always just thought my dad looked funny in suits, because he didn't look like he belonged in one. Like I said, his face would get really angry, and he was, I don't know, he would like flirt with all the older women and they really liked him for that. Like, he'd be like, oh my God, you look so young. I don't know. And my parents really liked this Kingdom Hall. They felt like they belonged here more. I didn't really feel like I belonged anywhere. Like, I didn't feel like I belonged at home. I didn't feel like I belonged at the Kingdom Hall. And that's what made it really hard, is that's all I had at this point. I had no friends my age. I'd already kind of been forced to grow up way too fast, and it made it really harder. And with my autism, I was masking pretty much harder than I ever had. And it felt like I just never could rest or let my guard down, and it got really lonely for me. And I didn't have... It was one of those things where it's like, either I go along with this or I die. that's what it felt like. So I just really started throwing myself into the religion more. And my mom convinced us to become auxiliary pioneers with her, which back at, I don't know if they still do that, but back in the day, basically an auxiliary pioneer is someone that goes out and serves a certain amount of hours, like going door to door. I think it was like 50 per month, 50 hours per month.
Jeez.
Well, when
That
we
sounds like a
became,
lot.
it was, dude, and like it was like full time. It felt like, well, when we became regular pioneers, it was full time pretty much. You know, I've never really liked going out in service. Like I would have, my anxiety would be so bad. I would literally pray to Jehovah. I'd be like, please, I can't do this. Please don't let somebody come to the door. And of course, every time I would pray for that, people would come to the damn door. So I'm like, God's punishing me. You know, I'm like, he's like, you, this is my trial. He's punishing me for wishing that people wouldn't come to the door. So I tried to change the way I was thinking about it. I was like, okay, the way I would like prepare myself for service is I was like, you know what? This is life and death. I think the way I would be like, it's like if you knew that somebody was going to go into a bank and kill everyone, you would do whatever it took to warn them, right? Wow. Oh my God. Okay, I would think like that. And
It's
here's
just
the
a
thing.
lot to unpack right there, right?
Wait, well, because it hit me. I'm like, someone's gonna kill everyone. The whole idea that Jehovah's Witnesses have, Armageddon, God is the person going into the bank killing everybody.
What a
Hello?
twist.
I'm just saying, like, I'm like, I have to go out in service or people are gonna die, which is such a very messed up way of thinking. It was very exhausting to live like this, and people were just mean. You know, like they would sick their dogs on us, they'd scream at us. I would get to the door as a kid and they're just like trying to do whatever there were these men ever like at certain houses where they'd try to make me look dumb or quiz me on Bible things, and I'm just like, dude, I'm just trying to do a freaking presentation and go home, like or they'd like tell you their like life story. It was just honestly so exhausting just to be in a car all the time or going, you know, and then having to go out in service. And it was service, it was homeschooling, it was cleaning the banks with my mom, it was my dad just constantly hounding my brother and I to do chores. Usually the chores thing would come from my mom being like, oh, the yard needs to be cleaned, and it was usually my dad's fault that it wasn't clean or whatever, and then he would take it out on my brother and I, and it was honestly just a lot. And I started dealing with sleeping problems. Like I would be tired all the time. And it honestly, it came to a head this one week where my mom just freaked out on me. I don't remember what we were doing. I do remember it was this really sunny day. We were behind the shed. We were doing some type of yard work or chores. And this is so weird. My brain has blurred out like certain areas of my childhood home or the yard. I can't really explain it. I have like a lot of bad dreams involving it, but I cannot picture in my head certain areas of where I grew up or like the house or the yard. And it's just really blurry, and it's just very frustrating. Anyway, we were doing yard work and I was just struggling. I was so tired. I was so worn out, and she just snapped. And she's like, you're just lazy, and she's just screaming all these horrible things at me, which I've never been good with confrontation. And what happens is I freeze up. If somebody's yelling at me or saying something nasty to me, I can't think. I can't reply. I just freeze. And I try to think of something I can say in the moment to make them stop saying mean things to me. But at this moment, I think I was just tired. So I couldn't think of something to say that would appease her. Or I couldn't think of what to say to make her less mad or make her not beat me or hurt me in some way.
Terrible.
And I just went blank. And I couldn't think. And I remember she got quiet because she had asked me to something, because I was so focused on thinking about what I could say to make my mom not mad at me in this moment. Because when I say I'm tired, we're all tired. We're all doing these things, you know. And I missed whatever she asked me. And I really don't understand what happened. But my mom, for some reason, this one day decides to be nice to me. And she's like, "What's wrong?" And I remember I broke down. I just broke down. I couldn't hold it in. Like, I was so good at holding everything in all the time, and I just couldn't. I think I was just so tired and so close to, honestly, I didn't understand it at the time, but so close to an autistic shutdown or meltdown. And Jesus Christ.
Okay. Got this. It's a lot, I know. You got this.
Yeah. You know, I just always felt so weird and so out of place as a kid. Like, it was too much. Everything was just too much. And I didn't really know how to explain to my own mom that I was drowning. I didn't know how to explain how, lonely I was, and how I just didn't belong anywhere. See, I just can never talk about how I felt without it just hitting me so hard. Jesus. Like I said,
it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of things. I mean, it's going to make sense that you're going to feel that way.
I've talked the least about this time in my life.
This is what this is all about. This is what you're here for, is to show us and tell us about all how you feel, even if it doesn't come out perfect. You got plenty of time to.
It's hard to talk about. Because it was just so dark. Just so dark. I felt like I was being consumed. I was just being consumed. I was drowning. There was no coming back up. And it just hit me so hard in this moment. And all I said to my mom was, I'm just tired. I'm like, I can't get good sleep. And it wasn't just, it was the lack of sleep that brought the breakdown. But it wasn't the sleep. I was 13, 14, and I was already tired of life. Or I may have been 12. It was so, like I said, timelines are weird, but I was just a kid and I was already tired of life and how exhausted I was. And I remember she was mad at me. I could tell she was frustrated with me. But like, that compassionate side of her was like, well, I can't get mad at you for that, for being tired and having trouble sleeping. So she sent me in for the afternoon to go sleep. And I remember laying in bed and I felt too guilty to sleep. Like, I was just laying there feeling stressed out. And I remember just laying there and just thinking, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't belong here. I don't belong anywhere. I don't know why I'm alive. That's what I felt like. And she that night I didn't go help her clean banks. She told me to stay home and rest. And when she was out, she got me melatonin. And I remember being scared to take it, and I'm for good reason, because it affected me really weird. Like, I could not, it knocked me out for like 13 hours, I think, the first night I took it. And
Which is
then,
never good.
No, it knocked me out. And then for the rest of the week, I was so tired. I don't know if it was from the melatonin or like it messed me up or something. And I had no energy. I was dead. And it was not it. It was not it to help. And I remember I immediately stopped taking it. Like, I think my mom made me take like a third of a pill for a few nights, but I was done. And that was it. We didn't dress it. That was it. I stopped taking the melatonin, and my mom just went back to hating me.
I know.
Dang it.
I hate that for you.
And then I went back to not telling anyone anything. I did cry a lot. Like, usually we would get home from the meetings and everybody would go to their own rooms to get undressed. And I remember I would either climb in my closet and close the door, or, well, and I'd always get my pillow and I would scream, like, quietly, but I would, like, scream cry into my pillow in my closet. And I would wait until people fell asleep and then I'd cry more. I don't know. I was going through it. And at the new Kingdom Hall, my dad was getting more privileges. That's a big thing with Jehovah's Witnesses, is privileges, especially for the men. And he became what was called a ministerial servant. So, and my dad started giving talks at other Kingdom Halls. So every Sunday, most Sundays, like, we would still go to our Kingdom Hall, but at least once or twice a month, we would go to local other Kingdom Halls around the area, 30 minutes to an hour away, and my dad would give talks there. And the talk that he would give was this talk about love. People started calling him Brother Love. It was a joke. My dad, this person who is so angry, so violent, so hateful, was giving talks about love. And everybody would be like, "You're such a nice family. You guys are so nice and perfect, and your kids are so nice and well behaved." No. We were abused. and this hateful man. Oh, I hate him. I still hate him. Like, I hate him. And I'll talk later in this podcast more about my dad and the things that I really hate him for. But it was just so funny to me that this little man in his little suit, which at the time my dad seemed so big and scary, but my dad is not a big man. He's big as in strong, because he's a carpenter, but not tall. He got a big head. I'm sorry. Why am I... That was so childish.
Just did everything you can.
That was childish. But, just brother love. and I did enjoy going to other Kingdom Halls. It was fun, and it also gave... So my mom connected with some other Jehovah's Witnesses moms who were also homeschooling, which I think this was how I became friends with this one girl, and she had me over for my first sleepover ever. I had never had a sleepover or been to one before this. I was never allowed to, so this was really exciting for me. And I haven't talked much about my gender identity. Like, I know I've mentioned that I identify as gender fluid or non-binary. I'm somewhere in between the two, but basically I felt my whole childhood like a boy that was pretending to be a girl. Like, I was a boy who wanted in on the girl things, but because I was a boy, I couldn't do them. Femininity isn't something that really comes easy for me, which is really funny because, like, I'm AFAB. Is my dog being a crackhead in there?
Yeah, I'm trying to calm him down.
No,
Sorry.
you're fine. It's not your fault. I just thought I heard his little growl in the background. Like I said, we've kind of got a lot of changes in our house right now, so our dog is just out of sorts, and I'm sorry for any noises from him.
I
But
don't even live in the house.
you what?
What? Sorry,
What?
I was breaking up the tension.
I like it. It was funny.
I just drove to your house and took this dog.
No, okay. That's concerning. But like
Yeah,
I
it's
said, it
fine.
was the femininity was never easy for me because I was AFAB. Or it's funny because I was AFAB and it was something that didn't come easy for me, which I mean gender in general and the constructs are BS, so I shouldn't have felt weird, but I did. Like I always felt like just like a bumbling idiot. Like I felt like I was someone I felt like I was it was like trying to put a dress on a pig. Like so whenever I went over to her house, it was like she had all these like pretty girly things. Her room felt really exciting to me, and she was a little bit older than me, so she seemed really cool. I remember the first sleepover we played with makeup. We did a lot of things that felt like normal preteen girls do, or like normal teenager girls do. Things I never really got to do. We would watch movies that teenagers or preteens would watch. And it was like I was finally getting invited to something everyone else like me already had been experiencing. I don't know. And I liked her and her mom's relationship because her mom would do a lot of things for her. And with her, my mom and I had things, but like never like this. I mean, my mom literally told me that we hated each other, even though I didn't feel that way. She's like, oh, well, we hate each other, and it's because of your age. But I didn't hate her. I just wanted to feel like I had a mom. I just wanted to feel like I had a mom. That's it. I wanted to feel like I had a mom. And I didn't get to see this friend very often. And I remember I tried to plan like a sleepover with her and a few other girls she had introduced me to, but my parents didn't let us have people over. It was extremely rare if we did. So I'd planned this huge slumber party and it never happened. But it did feel like for a little bit I was a part of the girls' club and it felt really exciting. And we would write each other these little letters. I actually still have my letters from her. And anytime we would see each other at assemblies or conventions, we would hang out together. That was like a huge thing where I grew up. I don't know if other Jehovah's Witnesses experience this, but basically at the assemblies and conventions, you get with your group of friends and you walk around. That's the thing to do. You walk all day long in the halls. That's what we did. And I'd go over to her house for like parties or sleepovers, and things felt like they were improving at this time. Like I started to have actual friends, and she was also homeschooled, so we didn't have to like abide by regular school schedules. This particular friendship didn't last a lot longer because she did actually start going to public school not long after that, and I remember feeling weird about it because she completely changed after that. And I think it was because she had been homeschooled her whole life basically, so she was super sheltered. So going to public school, like, that's a huge difference. So she fully changed. And we just didn't keep contact after that. I didn't really like who she became at the time. And I think it was because I was a little jerk. And I thought I had all these ideas about what a kid should be or is a Jehovah's Witness or a teenager. And I was a little jerk and I didn't understand. I just saw things very black and white. And I just didn't understand the world at that time. As an adult, I can look back and say, she was a teenager.
I still don't understand it.
No, she was a kid. She was a teenager.
I just meant life.
Yeah, no, life, yes. But she was a teenager, and yeah, she was acting like an idiot, probably, but you're allowed to do that when you're a teenager, and I just didn't understand that. I think I just grew up too fast. So I just didn't get certain things. But around this time, a new family had moved into our area and had started going to our Kingdom Hall. This family was from Vermont, And basically, our family was chosen to study the Bible with their family. Like, we would have Bible studies, which they had already been studying the Bible. And we were basically, I forgot which book. I think it was What Does the Bible Really Teach? It was one of those books. There's certain books that you study with people. And we were supposed to pick up the rest of their study with them. And the reason we got chosen was because they also had kids. They had a little girl. I think she was like 4 at the time. And then they also had a teenage boy. He was about 3 years older than me. So he was around 14, 15. He was 2 to 3 years older. And he was about 14 or 15 around the time that they started studying with us. And immediately we liked each other a lot. And I'm going to be calling him Angel. And we would go over to their house on Sundays after the meeting, and we would study with them. Basically, their son and I would spend the whole time looking at each other. And I remember I would get like butterflies in my stomach, and I would get so excited. Like, this was when life kind of started turning around a little bit. Like, things were still not great, but at least I had other kids around, and I felt normal a little bit. And it was nice to experience these feelings, because these felt like normal teenager things, you know? One thing about them, though, was their house was extremely, like, spotless, like, clean. Like, they were constantly cleaning. And I remember thinking, like, it's already clean. Why are you still cleaning? And they would do this at the Kingdom Hall, too. Like, they were super rigorous about, like, if one of them uses the bathroom, they will go in and clean it. And I always thought it was really weird, which I also thought it was weird that we were studying with them, because it felt like they were more godly than we were. And my whole life, my mom had really instilled into my head this feeling like we were dirty or we were less than everyone else, even though my mom was super snooty. I still struggle with that feeling. That's something I still trying to work through. But anyway, we had been studying with him for a while, and at some point they were like, hey, we want to get baptized. So the parents did, and Angel wanted to get baptized. And I remember at one of the studies, they were like, we need to talk to you about something. And I remember, like, the mood shifted drastically when they were like, we need to talk to you guys. Like, I remember Angel's face and the parents' faces just totally shifted, and the daughter's face even shifted, and she was very young. I remember thinking to have this shift in mood like this. And they were like, we need to talk to you about something. The dad was like, so back, I think he was in the army. He said, when I was back in the army, I had a gay experience. And because of this, he had HIV. And I remember it was like he was really ashamed. Like, it felt like his family carried the same shame. And he's like, I know what you guys are thinking. You're wondering if, you know, the mom and daughter have it. They don't. And I believe that the experience happened after Angel was already born. And so it was sometime after they had Angel, but before his now wife and daughter. And the reason that it was a big deal for them to tell us, there's this really weird thing with Jehovah's Witnesses where people with HIV or AIDS are not allowed to get baptized in the same pool as everyone else, which we were always like, okay, if you were that worried, wouldn't you just have them get baptized after? And they were like, no, it's a safety issue. I've done research on this. You cannot get it from swimming in the same pool water as someone with HIV or AIDS. I think it was something just really problematic and just awful on the part of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So they were like, what do we do about this? You know, we don't want to tell the Kingdom Hall. And my parents were like, well, we kind of need to so that we can help make sure you guys can get baptized, or like the dad can get baptized. And he's like, oh, well, you know, the other two can get baptized in an assembly or convention. They're like, no, we're not going to get baptized without you. We're doing it together. So they let my parents talk to the elders, and this was actually a nice thing that happened. Everyone in the Kingdom Hall kind of rallied around them, and someone in the Kingdom Hall had a swimming pool. It was like their basement, or it was like below their house, but it was outside. Don't know how to explain it. It was like kind of like a basement, but it was also outside. I don't know how to explain it. It was weird. But they were like yeah, they were like, hey, you can get baptized here. So literally everybody, even people that didn't regularly attend, showed up, and everybody was like super non-judgmental about why they were getting baptized like this, and it was actually really sweet, and everybody cried, and it was actually a really nice moment. um you know, yeah, it was something nice that my parents actually helped happen. But soon after, we did stop studying with them, or well, before the baptism, like we had stopped studying with them, which made me sad because we couldn't go over to their house anymore. Like I said, I had a huge crush on Angel at this time, and I mean, I did try to spend as much time with him as possible. Like, I would always try to make sure I got put into the same car groups for service with him, and my brother and him would hang out a lot, which I think that was just kind of because our parents forced them to hang out. They were like, oh, be friends. Go be friends. You know, they didn't really have a lot in common, but I think it was one of those things where they both would rather have a friend than not have a friend. And he was also getting homeschooled. We were just a bunch of stunted kids. That's all it really was. That's all it was. And honestly, we were just doing the best we could. I do think I'm going to leave my episode there because it is a little bit longer. But I hope that you guys have enjoyed listening. I got through it, even though I did cry a little bit. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure you guys check out Japan. He does not do this kind of content. He does gaming content, but it's very funny and enjoyable, and I'm generally featured in it as well, so you can at least see a different side of me. Yeah. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Happy New Year. I hope that everyone listening has a good year, and I hope that if you're going through something, or if it's something similar to what I've gone through, that you find peace and healing, and just maybe comfort in me talking about this. Anyway, thank you guys for listening, and I will catch you next time. Bye!
Bye!